I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. It should go without saying, but when you're the President of the United States and you're railing against the Pope, you're losing. I've seen a ton of commentary about how this is just more evidence of Trump's precipitous decline. He's lashing out because he's cornered, and none of his usual antics are working like they used to. Americans are furious about the economy, about the war, about the ongoing Epstein cover-up, and Trump can't change the subject without making things worse. If he thought attacking the Pope would be the kind of distraction that shifts the news cycle in his favor, he could not have been more wrong. This, by the way, is what grace looks like.
I have no fear of neither the Trump administration nor speaking out loudly about the message of the gospel. And that's what I believe. I am called to do what the church is called to do. But we're not politicians. We're not looking to make foreign policies and false it with the same perspective that he might understand it. But I do believe that the message of the gospel, blessed are the peacemakers, is a message that the world needs to hear today.
Every day, Donald Trump continues to alienate more Americans. But with his attacks on the Pope in particular, there might be something else going on. Kris Goldsmith has an interesting take on this. If you've seen this show before, you know Kris as my constant wingman. He's an Army combat vet and the founder of Vets Fighting Fascism, and he has been making the connection between Trump's ritual humiliation of JD Vance and his attacks on the first American Pope. To set it up, just consider what JD Vance has been forced to endure at Trump's bidding over the past few weeks. From Budapest to Islamabad, JD has racked up a string of epic failures, which might help explain why his approval rating is the lowest ever recorded for a vice president at this stage. Kris has more to say about how this might not be entirely accidental. Here's our conversation. Kris, welcome to the show. Tell us about humiliation rituals. And I'm not talking about Trump's attempted humiliation of the Pope, because the Pope handled it masterfully and sent it right back to Trump. I'm talking about the humiliation of JD Vance. And I mean, JD Vance isn't doing himself any favors, but he has been set up every step of the way for this fall, which we are witnessing in real time.
Yeah, Donald Trump is doing several things at once here. Now, I wouldn't accuse Donald Trump of being a strategist or of having a plan for anything. This comes naturally to him, and he loves forcing his allies, his closest supporters, to engage in humiliation rituals, to bow down to him and treat him like a god. Now, JD Vance, who's the vice president of the United States, I know constitutionally the vice president doesn't have a lot on their plate, but in reality, today's world, in the Trump administration, it's a busy job. During that busy job, he apparently wrote and is publishing a book about finding his Catholicism. Now, Catholicism, I was born and raised a Catholic. We kind of have, it's a church with a boss. The Pope is the boss, right? Donald Trump doesn't like someone having dual loyalties. And so, when JD Vance is publishing a book while he's in office, we know that means that he's preparing for higher office. Donald Trump doesn't like for people to assume that they are his heirs. Ivanka Trump is the only one at all that is clearly his heir. Eric and Donald don't get that kind of love, right? So this entire Pope fight that Donald Trump is trying to pick, it is not about Rome. It's not about the Catholic Church, and it's not about the Pope. It's about putting JD Vance in a box and forcing JD Vance to put Donald Trump above his own religion. Which he will.
I mean, we know there was some talk months ago, actually over a year ago now, that if we could just replace JD Vance's desperate need for a father figure in his life, if we could replace Donald Trump with Pope Leo, maybe we would see a kind of actual conversion, but I don't think JD Vance is constitutionally capable of breaking with Trump. He's become like an emotional safety blanket, and you see it time and again. He has completely prostrated himself to the cult of Trumpism.
He has. And even though he has done that, even though Donald Trump has gotten JD Vance from calling Donald Trump America's Hitler to worshiping him, that's not enough. So, you know, the New York Times came out with a story within the last couple of weeks detailing about how the Trump White House went to war. And the gist of the story, which is extremely detailed, it means that everyone at the highest levels of the Trump administration was talking to Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan. The details were down to who was sitting where in that room and where they normally sit, right? Like incredible details.
It's Ken Harbaugh. Quick break to let everyone know that the Midas Studios and Valor Media Network original short film, Drone Hunters of Kherson, will have 2 in-person screenings in Washington, D.C. on April 21st and 23rd. I'll be there as part of a panel discussion afterwards that includes members of Congress and other experts. This is a free event open to the public, but register soon because spots are going fast. The RSVP link is in the notes below. Here's the trailer for Drone Hunters of Kherson. Drone. The contest between who gets who first. Do they get the drone, or does the drone get them? We're that close to the front. There's rubble everywhere, but people are still surviving. We just got an alert that there is a wave of 12 Shaheeds flying in over the Black Sea. There! That's the amazing thing about this war. It's a blend of trench warfare and Terminator.
JD Vance was out of the country when Bibi Netanyahu came with his team to put on a PowerPoint presentation to impress Trump and to get Trump to agree to going to war with Iran, right? So he's got JD Vance already out of the room. Now, in that reporting, one of the headlines that came out of that article was that JD Vance was the only skeptic in the entire senior levels of the Trump White House, of the Trump administration, who was even remotely skeptical about going into Iran. But at the end of the day, JD Vance told Trump, I don't think this is a good idea, but if you're going to do it, I'm going to support you. Telling Donald Trump that what he's about to do is not a good idea is a mortal sin in the eyes of the god of MAGA, Donald Trump. So he's been punishing him ever since. And go ahead.
It's not as if when just having observed Donald Trump for more than a decade now, it's not as if when he gets a piece of advice like that turns out to be true, his response isn't, I should listen to you more. It's, I hate you.
Yep. Yeah, he doesn't like to be told he's wrong. And that is what JD Vance said when he said, I don't think this is a good idea, but I'll support you. And there is not a lot of consistency about JD Vance. Like, his primary attribute is that he is like water. He changes to the shape of whatever vessel you put him in, or he wants to put himself in. He went from calling Donald Trump Hitler to helping Donald Trump secure a second term as president in the United States. And he has enabled, everything that has come out of that, including what economists are saying as of this morning is a potential global recession because of this stupid war. Now, JD Vance will continue to defend Donald Trump and his position of starting this war. But the one thing that's been consistent about JD Vance over the last few years is he, as a veteran of Iraq, we were in Iraq together, or at the same time in 2005. He was pretty consistent about no new stupid wars in the Middle East. So Donald Trump took the one thing that JD Vance still had as a core characteristic that has followed him through his evolutions from a never Trump guy to diehard MAGA. And he forced JD Vance to crush that. And in doing so, he's also forcing JD Vance to crush his religion that he has just published a book about and saying how core it is to his values.
And he was also sent to Hungary. I'm just adding to the litany of humiliations that he has been forced to endure. He was sent to Hungary to appear on stage with Orban when it was clear that it was going to be an uphill battle for Orban to win, made all the sweeter by the fact that immediately after that appearance by JD Vance, Orban's numbers plummeted even further. But you have a feeling that JD Vance is being set up. Not that Trump is ever loyal to anyone for long, but it does seem like he is casting his gaze elsewhere now, and maybe it's Rubio. It's kind of like how he did with his wives, right?
Exactly.
I'm going to give you credit for that observation.
Yeah. So on last Friday, when JD Vance was dispatched to go from Hungary to Pakistan to deal with the Iranians in face-to-face negotiations to end this needless war, those negotiations were doomed to fail. Everyone knew it. Donald Trump knew it. JD Vance knew it, but Donald Trump sent JD Vance to go do it. So he would be the one who gets the blame for the failure. It's not Donald Trump's fault. It's JD Vance's inability to negotiate. That is the reason for the failure, right? And while JD Vance is doing this ostensibly really important thing, negotiating to end this war, Donald Trump takes Rubio to a UFC show, to a UFC fight. And anyone who's followed Donald Trump for any amount of time knows that when Donald Trump has a new interest, he wants to be photographed with them. He wants to be around celebrities with them. This is what he did to all of his ex-wives. He would have a new girlfriend. He would go out on the town, be photographed with the new girlfriend before he left his ex-wife. So he is doing to JD Vance what he has done to all of his ex-wives. He is trying to humiliate and ruin him. And it's because JD Vance is trying to make it appear as if he is going to inherit MAGA after Donald Trump is gone, which is on the premise that Donald Trump has a problem with, is that Donald Trump will ever be gone.
Do you think we are reaching some kind of breaking point? Because the reaction that I saw to the Trump post depicting himself as Jesus was different. It was certainly unlike the post where he depicted himself as the Pope, which Christian nationalists had no problem with. They love provoking Catholics, especially institutional Catholics, that way. But you have Tucker Carlson intimating that we might be looking at the Antichrist here. You've got Megyn Kelly, and even Alex Jones finally saying we might be at a jump the shark moment. Now, I think on their part, it's opportunistic, but then you have a lot of rank and file Christians, even some, diehard Christian nationalists saying, oh, I'm not comfortable with this. That's new.
Yeah, Donald Trump has been playing around with the Catholic symbolism for a while. And though Catholics voted, for Donald Trump consistently, the majority, I think something like 60% of voting Catholics voted for Donald Trump in the last election. It's not a tremendous majority, but it's pretty significant. The evangelical base is the real Christian nationalist base. That's the real radicalized base. And regionally, that's where the votes matter. The Catholics who are up in the Northeast, where I come from, they don't matter nearly as much to Donald Trump. And that's the way that he thinks about this in terms of rewarding states and rewarding different types of Christians. So when Donald Trump posted a photo depicting himself as Jesus, it was in this mindset of punishing Vance, making Vance worship Trump as his true God, making Vance forsake the Pope, forsake Catholicism, forsake the book that he just published in anticipation of trying to be the next president of the United States. But Donald Trump didn't recognize, because he's not religious. He doesn't know shit about any of these religions. He didn't recognize that it was incredibly blasphemous for him to depict himself as Jesus Christ. And the evangelical base, that is apparently a step too far for them. And I love the fact that we have people like Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson, and I don't know, Megyn Kelly might have said it too, talking about how Donald Trump could be the Antichrist, because that little worm in the brains of these Christian nationalists is going to keep boring in. Like, they're going to keep seeing it. They're going to be like, oh, well, gluttony is one of the 7 deadly sins, and sloth and pride, and they're going to look at Donald Trump. He is the embodiment of all of these things that the Bible, and Christian theology says about the Antichrist. So I think this is hilarious. I really hope that people keep promoting this idea that hey, he's got a lot in common with the bad guy in your book. So I think there is room for evangelicals to finally abandon Donald Trump. Not all of them, but enough of them to matter.
Well, I also think this one has legs, just because of how the right-wing conspiracy machine operates. And there are a few things that generate momentum of their own, and the eschatology, the end time stuff, and the Antichrist stuff is just the best fuel for these kinds of conspiracy theories on the right. We're gonna have fun with it. I feel a little bad saying that, but let's get out the popcorn and, let them go for it. Anytime Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens are taking shots at the fascist in chief, I'm here for it. Thanks, Chris. We'll talk to you again.
One thing, I want to make sure that people, this is something that I can't remember which one of my friends said this, but you might be starting to think like you're taking crazy pills because suddenly you agree with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Alex Jones. The way that we've framed that sentence is the problem. And that's why you think you're taking crazy pills. You don't agree with them. They agree with you, right? You have already formed the opinion
about this one thing.
Exactly. So don't, I don't want people to think like they're taking crazy pills. These crazy people suddenly agree with you. You don't agree with them.
Yeah. Good framing. Maybe they've discovered a stash of hidden sane pills. That's a better way to think of it than us having to take crazy pills. Chris, we'll see you again soon. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, brother.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.